welcome back to AP Music Theory. This is Professor Jim. We're going to look at the scale degree names as it relates to minor keys. And so we spent some time looking at the major key, and let's just take a look at that and review real quick. And so, we have our solfege, which is this bottom row here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then we named each scale degree: tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediant, leading tone, and tonic. And then our scale degrees are 1 through 7 with the little caret. We can say 8 or 1 here when we reach the octave of the original note. Let's go ahead and take a look at the parallel minor. Now, we've talked about relative minor and parallel minor. And to review real quick, the relative minor relates to the major key because they share a key signature. And the parallel minor means it shares the same tonic. So the D major scale and the D minor scale would be parallel. Very different key signatures. So let's go through and let's make some of the changes here. So I've copied and pasted just the major scale here. We're going to convert this to a minor scale. We'll just start with the natural minor. And the natural minor scale is going to have a lower third scale degree right here. So we're going to turn this F sharp into an F natural. It's still a third scale degree. It's still considered the mediant, but the solfege changes a bit from mi to me, and we spell that M-E, me. So do, re, me. And then fa and sol are the same as the major scale. So do, re, fa, and sol are all the same: do, re, mi, fa, and sol. So we've changed this third scale degree. That third right there is the defining characteristic of the minor triad or minor scale, just as the F sharp defines it as major. Now, once we get past the 5th scale degree, the 6th and 7th scale degrees are what change dramatically with all the minor scales. And so the key of D minor, its relative major is F major, and F major has 1 flat, and that's B flat. And so if I come here to this B, to continue to build our natural minor, we need to make this a B flat, So we're going to lower that 6th scale degree 1/2 step to B flat. And this is the submediant, still called the submediant. And again, though, the solfege is going to change from la to lay. So la to lay. And the 7th scale degree, just like the 6th scale degree, is a 1/2 step lower in the natural minor, because remember, it shares a key signature with F major. So there's just 1 flat. There's no sharps in this key, especially the natural minor. And so here is where we have a couple of changes. We no longer have a leading tone here. Why is that? Well, because remember, the leading tone, its most important aspect was the 1/2 step relationship to tonic. So when I would go here from C sharp to D, that's just a 1/2 step apart. It feels like it's leading up to that tonic note. It's a very powerful movement in voice leading. That T to do is the leading tone. So since we don't have that 1/2 step relationship anymore, and it's no longer a leading tone, we're going to change the name. And we call this the subtonic, or just below the tonic. And just like the other solfeges have changed, we're going to change this from T to te. So in the natural minor, we have do, re, me, fa, sol, lay, te, and then back to do. But as we learned, we have a few different types of minor scales. And so let's take a look at that. Let's go ahead and copy and paste our natural minor. And let's go ahead and look at this and make some changes as it relates to the harmonic minor. The harmonic minor, you might recall, is the exact same first 5 notes. All minor scales, the first 5 notes are the same. So D minor, natural minor, harmonic minor, or melodic minor, doesn't matter. You're always going to have do, re, mi, fa, sol as the defining 5 notes of all those 3 scales. It's where we get weird with the 6th and 7th scale degree. With the harmonic minor, we leave the 6th scale degree alone. It's still called the submediant, and it's still, the solfege is lay. But you might remember that we come back to this leading tone idea. The C natural becomes a C sharp in the key of D minor. So we're recreating that half step relationship again to tonic. And so we get to call this a leading tone again because of that half step relationship. And then the te changes back to T. Okay, we have one more scale to look at, and that is our melodic minor. Now remember, the melodic minor is different when we ascend or go up the scale, and it changes when we descend, and so we'll review that as well. But let's talk about the ascending part of our melodic minor. The ascending part, so I've copied here the natural minor one more time: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, te, and do. On the way up, or the ascending part, we raise the 6th and 7th scale degrees by 1/2 step. So the B flat becomes a B natural. And we have a couple of changes here with how we label these scale degree names. The 6th scale degree becomes the raised submediant, and we go from lay for the first time back to la, because it's just this B flat, which is kind of the defining characteristic of the natural minor in D minor. That B flat kind of sticks out there. The B natural really changes that sound. And in melodic minor, when we ascend, we also raise the 7th scale degree. And we once again get to call that a leading tone because of that half step relationship. And the te will become T again. Leading tone and then T. But remember, when we descend that melodic minor, it reverts back to its natural minor state. So if we were to label the ascending melodic minor, it would be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. As we return back down that scale, we're going to scroll up here to our natural minor. So if we get to the D and we're coming backwards, we're going to lower that 7th scale degree. It becomes a subtonic and te, and the 6th scale degree becomes a submediant and lay. And remember, too, that idea of scalar variance. Scalar variance being the idea that when we compose using these minor sounds, we aren't beholden to one type of scale. The composers will go in and out of all sorts of different types of minor scales, sometimes raised 7th scale degrees, sometimes raised 6ths, sometimes lowered. And it's really kind of that creative process. You get to explore those scales. By the way, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of scales from all around the world that creates different amazing types of sounds outside of major and minor. And we'll get into a few of those down the road. But studying world music really opens your eyes and your ears to what's available to you from these different types of scales. All right, that's all for today. We'll see you next time. We're going to dive into modes and different types of scales. See you then.